But listen, if you fall and you faint, when you come through, you can't just move off the bunk. Nobody told me that. Nobody told me that he fell. Nobody told me that. Or that he's vomiting, or that he's passed out, or that he's complaining.
This is Visser, a nurse who witnesses a very painful death of her patient, 36-year-old Kevil Wingo. But when questioned, she denies any knowledge about the incident. At Cobb Adult Detention Center in Atlanta, the death of Wingo had shocked everyone. Wingo died under very suspicious circumstances, and testimonies of the hospital staff directly contradicted what Annalene had to say.
I was at the computer or whatever, and he rang the bell, and he said that he couldn't breathe.
Okay.
And so I informed the charge nurse.
I told the nurses, he's saying he can't breathe, and they said if he was detoxing, it's fine.
Annalene thinks she can outsmart the detectives until she's faced with hard-hitting questions that challenge her claim.
Why did you not write a form up for him to go to Pat? It wasn't because he was disruptive.
They moved him because he was disruptive.
No, they
and the gun.
I'm not trying to.
After collecting enough evidence, detectives were confident that they had found their suspect. Annalene is brought into the interrogation room, where she tries to act smart to cover up her lies. But the seasoned detectives are determined to crack her. The only question remains, will they get a confession in the end?
Yeah, we're in here to talk about the incident that happened the other day at the jail. Okay?
Mr. Wingo.
Yes, Mr. Wingo. We've watched the video, went back through everything.
Okay.
Now we're going to start back when you came into shift that morning, okay? All right. And we've talked to other people, so we've, watched the video, so we've got a better understanding now of what happened, what went on. As before we did the other day, we went into it. We didn't have video that day. We were just doing our preliminary interviews, and this is just something we follow up and do more interviews after this, just for our investigation. Okay.
Sure.
So that's what this is about. So that morning you came into shift. Could you explain again, what was passed on to you, his behavior,
Sure.
And just kind of slow it down for me so we can understand it, so we can
Okay, so it was a Sunday morning. I came on duty at 6 o'clock, and the night nurse, Yvette Burton, she handed over to me, and she said that Mr. Wingo was, in the night, he was disorderly, and they were going to put him in close cells. She told me she was going to put him in close cells. So I said, okay, don't worry, I'll look at him, and if he needs to go, I'll put him in close cells. She went home, gave me a report, went home. I went and sat at the desk. At that time, there was no commotion. He was in room number 8, okay, which is just a little distance. There was no commotion.
And at that time, where were you sitting in reference to room 8?
I was sitting near the officer's desk.
Okay.
So I sit there, which is about 3 doors away from me. He was in 8, 7, 6, and 5, just directly in front of me. Okay, there was no commotion. Then what happened is, while I got up, is the gentleman next to his bed was at the back, and there were 1, 2, 3 bunks, and here's the door. The door was here, and the gentleman on the right-hand side, Mr. I can't remember his name, Watkins, I can't remember his name. He got up to go to the bathroom, and Mr. Wingo got into his bed. So when he came back, he said, hey, this guy's in my bed, okay? And Marshall was on duty. She was the deputy at the time. And I didn't go yet. That wasn't the first time that I went there. So we saw the commotion, and he was loud at the time, and this guy, I think it was Mr. Watkins, if I remember, said, I can't remember his name, I think he said, get him out of my bunk. Okay. He got up, and he went back to his bunk, Mr. Wingo. Then later on, he came and he moved in between the 2 bunks, and he was lying there, and that's when the gentleman, Mr. Watkins, I think his name was Watkins, called and said, get this guy away from me because he stinks. And that's when I got up and I went to the window to see. And I said to Mr. Wingo, go back to your bunk. This is not your bunk. And he scooted back and he went back to his bunk. Okay? Then I went back, and then later on, this guy went to the bathroom again. And that's when Mr. Wingo went into his bed again. And that's when Marshall said, I'll have to move him to close holes or move him out. And she told him to come. I wasn't standing there, I was standing at a distance, I think behind the counter. I was standing behind the counter. And Marshall took him out, and she called Sergeant Gordon to come, because at that stage he was rowdy and loud. Gordon took him, handcuffed him, got him up, he stood against the window and he handcuffed him, and I think he moved him to the seat in front of the desk, and he was loud, he was talking, and then they said, Gordon said, then Major Harris came, and Gordon said we're going to take him to the annex. And he walked to about room number 11, and then they said, okay, I didn't see it, they said that they're going to put him in a wheelchair, and they moved him to a wheelchair.
At the onset of her interrogation, it seems that she was just there doing her job, and Wingo was the one making trouble. But watch how her carefully constructed facade of innocence starts to fall apart as the detectives unravel her story.
All right, let's go back to when you were sitting at the desk over there.
Okay.
And this is, right when you came in. Was anybody saying anything to you? Did you hear him over the intercom say he couldn't breathe? Did any other nurses advise you of this?
No.
Nobody
No.
said anything to you while you were sitting at the desk?
No.
She shows no sign of guilt and begins to lie the moment detectives start their questioning. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Little does she know that the detectives have already interrogated other medical staff. Both the night nurse and a staff member had a different take on the story, believing that Wingo's health condition was truly grave.
He rang the bell, and he said that he couldn't breathe.
Okay.
And so I informed the charge nurse. I'm the secretary, the unit secretary.
Right.
I informed the charge nurse that he stated that he was under distress.
And the charge nurse
Analyzing this.
handling this.
And she just said, he's okay. He's okay. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to watch him and see what he does or whatever.
Right.
I was at the computer or whatever. He rang the bell, and he said that he couldn't breathe.
Okay.
And so I informed the charge nurse.
I told the nurses, he's saying he can't breathe. And they said if he was detoxing, he's fine.
No. He was rowdy and he was loud. He was rowdy and he was
Yeah, I
loud.
understand that, but what I'm saying is
He didn't say,
the
I can't
nurses,
breathe.
but the nurses that were in the infirmary, assigned out to the infirmary, nurses, techs, whatever they were, did any of those say what
To me,
Yes,
he
to
could
you
breathe.
that he needed to be checked because he could not
No.
breathe. You don't recall
No, I
that?
don't recall that. No, not at all. No.
A human just lost his life due to her actions, but she doesn't recall the incident. Did she even try to remember? Regardless of her denial, one of the medical staff members, lab technician Tiffany Womack, tells a different story.
When I was asking, like I said, at one point he fell over into the floor, and that's when I told her, I said, he's sitting on the ground. And then he had made his way back. He wasn't standing, but he made his way back to the window and again asking, he said, please help me, I cannot breathe. And that's when I said, look, I'll do his vitals, can we just pull him out? And that's when she got up, stayed behind the secretary's desk and just looked. And she said, he's fine, he just wants drugs. It was 97% last night, whatever, I guess, from night shift.
All right.
And set back down. So, I'm aggravated.
But you
It's
did,
bothered me.
let me ask you this, I've never been in the medical field. You have a charge nurse, then you have other nurses that are, she's the supervisor of the nurses.
She is. We answer to her. She gives us
Okay.
orders.
So if she gives you a direct instruction, and you disregard it,
I can be.
you can be terminated or
Yes, she would have to go
disciplinary
to.
action.
Oh yeah, definitely. She would have to in turn go to our nurse manager. But she could send me home for the day. She could,
Right.
in turn it could turn into something more major.
So
yes.
you felt like you were obligated to follow her direction.
And then, like I said, and I don't want to question, she is an RN. I mean, like I said, I'm just EMT, I just draw blood. Maybe she's been here, I know she's been here a super long time. I know she's seen things, you know, maybe she felt like it was okay. But then once I had found out, you know, later on that what all had happened, it just made me cry. I'm sorry.
No, you're
That has bothered me.
Yeah, I
That
understand.
has bothered me so bad because.
Yeah.
Very, very bad.
He was rowdy, he was loud.
Explain rowdy.
Okay. He was loud, he was, I don't know what he was saying. He was just disruptive, loud and shouting, and I can't remember exactly what he was saying. And that's why Marshall said, I think I'm going to put him in close-ups.
So Marshall said that she was going to put him in close-ups.
Yes.
As the interrogation proceeds further, her account of lies grows as well. To control the narrative, she's trying to lead the detective in the wrong direction by blaming the death of Wingo on Marshall. But Marshall had a different reason to put Wingo in isolation. Marshall stated that he wanted to observe Wingo closely. It was only Visser who believed that Wingo was being disruptive, while others believed he was genuinely in need of medical help.
She said, I'll move him so that he can go to close-ups. That's when she called Gordon, because he was rowdy and because that guy wanted to hit him because he was on his bunk. And he said, if you don't take him away, we're gonna hit him. And Marshall moved him out.
When was the last time his vitals were taken?
Listen, probably the night before, I think. I don't know when Yvette does it. I think they do it about, I don't know what time they do it at night. We only do it at about 8 o'clock. Is what I say. But if he's disruptive, you can't, I don't go near them as far as vitals are concerned. Only for
And I've seen the video and I didn't see the disruptive part, so. Just to be honest. So, in the video, there are people that we can see that are employees that they're concerned about him in the room,
Sure.
and they stated that he fell over in the room.
No, he didn't fall at all.
Visser ordered the staff not to help him, and her denial is not even near to be trusted. One of Wingo's inmates explained how his condition worsened, yet none of them stepped in to help. Why? Because they were simply following orders of the head nurse, Visser. But what does she have to say in her defense?
What happened was the guy was in and nobody took him serious. He was laying on the ground trying to help, and nobody took him serious.
Neither did the other inmate say that he fell at all. He was lying between the two bunks. I don't know, maybe he thought that was the bed or he just wanted to lie there. And the only reason I went there was that gentleman, Mr. on the right-hand side, said, move him because he stinks, we don't want him here. And I asked him to go back.
Did any of the nurses say that he
What?
fell?
No,
To you?
not to me. No, not to me at all.
Would it be surprising if some of them did say that they told you that they
I would be surprised, yeah, because I went there. I went to his room. I don't know if you saw that in the video.
Yeah, I saw
Okay,
you go.
I did go to the room.
Yeah, you did.
I did go to the room and asked him to move back.
Wingo was getting weaker. When unheard for a while, he fell back on the ground between two bunks, right in front of the nurses.
Now, when you asked him to move back, how did he move back?
He moved back with his hands onto the bunk.
Did that look a little bit
No,
like not normal and the way he was
no,
crawling?
he had on white pants. When I asked him to move, he moved back. He scooted back with his hands.
When you were talking to him, what was his complaint at the dorm?
He didn't say anything.
He didn't say
He didn't say anything at the window. All I said to him is, Mr. Wingo, move back. And I still went like this and said, move back to your bunk. That was all. He didn't say anything to me like I've got a headache or I feel sick or I'm vomiting or anything.
Okay. Why were you asking him to move back?
Because the gentleman said, if you don't move him, he's lying. You know, I went because the gentleman said he's lying here on the floor and he stinks. That's why I went there and said, please move back. And we did.
There is no empathy in her that a nurse should have for her dying patient. She tries to justify her crime in many ways, but what she says in a few minutes was truly the most horrible explanation behind it.
I guess what I was getting at with that is the deputy. Why wasn't she over there? Why did you notify her that there was going to be a fight? Or because normally if something like that's going to happen, in case we may have to step in to break that fight up instead of you just going to the door and asking them to move back. So that's why I was asking.
I don't know, I didn't even ask Marshall. I mean, I think she came the second time that he lay on the bunk. She came and she said, I think I better just move him to close-ups. Let's move him out of the room.
Okay. And you said that if somebody's acting out, you don't take their vitals.
I know.
But we've seen the video, and I have yet to see him throughout the video acting out at all.
Well, I think...
And, there's people, did anybody mention about taking his vitals to you? Do you remember that? When somebody said that to you?
No, nobody said take his vitals, no.
Okay. No.
I went over there because he was loud, okay, and because the guy said he was lying in between the two bunks. You understand? And he continued being loud.
So, explain loud to me.
Okay, he was talking...
Explain like how he was...
He was talking loudly, and I've been already warned that he's going to go to close-up because of his disruptive behavior in the night. Okay, and I did say to him, I will take care of it, and if I have to move him, I'll move him to close-ups, if I have to.
Okay. So you don't think you were just coming to an assumption, since you'd already been warned about that he was acting out?
Well, maybe I was warned, okay, yeah. Maybe, be careful,
Yeah.
Maybe, but I mean, Marshall moved him out because he was disruptive, which allowed everybody's fun.
Okay.
And we do want to fight.
No, you don't want to fight.
Sure.
I'm just having a hard time recalling that no one stated his medical emergency to you. That, and think about this. While you're sitting at the computer, you're telling me that no one made a comment to you about him not being able to breathe.
No, I promise you, nobody. Nobody.
Okay.
It seems as if the detective's emphasis on thinking was redundant for Visser. The moment the detective ended his question, she jumped in with a no. However, moments after she pretended to observe her dying patient, Deputy Lynn Marshall approached her and conveyed her worries about Wingo.
And you said you reported to the nurse. What nurse did you tell that, like, hey, he's saying he needs to go to the hospital?
Well, they all heard me. Well, I said that he's saying he can't breathe. And I know Annalene said he just wants to go to the hospital. He'll be okay. She was the one that said to put him on close-ups.
And Annalene, just for clarity, that's Nurse Visser?
Visser, yes.
Charge nurse, right?
Right.
Okay.
Many people suggested that she should check Wingo's vitals, but in the interrogation room, she desperately tries to paint herself as innocent, acting completely unaware of the suggestions. She thinks that she can deceive the seasoned detectives with her lies, but what she doesn't realize is that they already know exactly what transpired on that day.
I'm not lying, I promise you.
Okay. And you're telling me nobody made a comment to check his vitals.
No.
Do you know what his oxygen level was when he came in?
No.
You don't recall? Okay.
I don't recall that. I know they did the vitals the night before.
Okay.
Well, what happened? What did he die from? What?
It's still all in investigation.
Autopsy.
Yeah, it's still all in investigation.
Okay.
But we're trying to conduct our investigation, and we have information based on video and witness statements that there was a lot more that went on.
What more?
We have to, not only do we look at stuff, but we got to find out step by step.
Sure.
Everything that happened to that.
Sure.
So why was he down there?
Because he was detoxing from opiates. He does IV heroin and he snorts.
Was there anything else that was down there, or complaints that he was down there for?
Not that I know of. No.
Ulcer?
I just know it was opiate pain. It was opiate detox.
How about an ulcer? Because that's what he went down for, was an ulcer.
Oh no, nobody told me anything about an ulcer. No.
Is that because
When she handed over to me, she obviously admitted him. When she handed over to me, she said he's for opiate detox and he does IV heroin, snorts it, snorts coke.
You guys normally look through the notes and the charts when
You know
train
what?
shifts.
I normally do because I've got to hand over to the doctor. Okay, it was Sunday morning, so I haven't gone through his stuff at all. I think he was room number 8 and we had other people before you. But I do go through it normally to hand over to the doctor, you know, if there's anything else. But Yvette's good. She really is good, and she normally puts down everything if there was an ulcer, and if
Right.
maybe he didn't mention it.
Wait, you're saying you didn't look at the chart that morning?
I did not look at the
morning?
chart. No, I
Okay.
did not look at the chart. I just got the report from her. And this happened, I came on duty, 6 o'clock, she handed over to me at about 20 past 6, I think she left. And at 7 o'clock, he was already being loud and getting into somebody else's.
For the past 15 minutes of this interrogation, she's been consistently portraying Wingo as disruptive, but none of the CCTV cameras support her statement. So far, she's been lying, trying to mislead the detectives, but they're well aware of her negligence.
You know, you say he's being loud. What else was he doing? But besides being loud, what was he?
What can I say? Just, as I say, getting into other people's bunk, I suppose, what do you call it? Not being obedient, not following command. You know? I don't know why he wanted to get into the front bunk on the right-hand side. I don't know why.
Is it, when he came out of the dorm,
Out of the cell.
yeah, out of the cell after, how was his behavior? How was he, how was his loudness then?
Well, he was still, I can't remember what he was saying, but he was still like loud. I don't know what he was saying, I can't remember what he was saying, but he was loud, so much so that I still said to Marshall, listen, don't open the door, okay? Because I've been in the jail for a long time, and Deputy Venables was attacked, and I told her years back, don't go into room 3, and she did. So again, I said to Marshall, don't go in there on your own, get a sergeant, don't open the door, okay, because he's getting, he's causing agitation with the other inmates, you know what I mean? Don't go in there on your own. And she said, don't worry, I'll just call him to come, and somehow she got him to come to the door. And then she pulled him, no, she didn't pull him out. Gordon came, and Gordon pulled him out, Sergeant Gordon. I told her, don't go in there on your own.
And after Sergeant Gordon gets there, how was his behavior then?
I think, I know if he was resisting him, because, let me think, Gordon got him down and told him to stand up, and he did stand up, and he put his hands on the glass, and Gordon handcuffed him and moved him, I think, to in front of the desk, and he was still loud. I don't know what he was saying, but he was still loud. And then Major Harris came, and they took him to the annex, and he walked until about room 11, and they said they put him on a wheelchair. And the next time I had anything to do with him was the code, and he was in the annex, the extension.
Okay. And you're the head nurse over all of the nurses that
Sure.
are down in the infirmary, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You kind
Mm-hmm.
of tell them what to do, tell them what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Wingo was in pain and struggling to stand properly, but Visser was adamant to paint him as an agitator to justify her actions. She shifts the blame onto the victim in an attempt to misguide the detectives, the classic trait of a master manipulator. Her evil nature is still hidden behind her confident and innocent outer appearance.
And I must admit, when they called the code, I was like, who can that be? Is that Wingo acting out? And I really didn't go because the other RN went. Luckily I did.
What conversation did you and Harris have about the move?
About who?
The move
To the annex.
annex is the extension.
The extension. Listen, I had no say in that. I had no say as to where he's going. You know what I mean? They didn't ask me. I mean, that's Marshall and Gordon. They decided to take him to the extension. They could have put him into our close house, maybe a full, I don't know what. Marshall decided to take him to the annex.
So
The extension.
You and Major Harris then, Major Harris, who decides, are you guys able to put,
No.
it's been so,
We don't have any input as to where they go, you know? I can't say, don't take him, put him in the... I mean, they could have put him in close-ups right there. Maybe it was full, you know? I don't know, you know? But we don't have any say. You know, I don't say he can't go. That's medical doesn't have any say. Security moves as they demon, you know?
And then, was any of the times when he was talking, was there anything saying about being in pain?
No.
Because my view of the video is he's in physical pain, and he passed out.
Passed out? When?
About 6 times. That's what he was doing when he was getting on the boat. He was passing out. He did it one time.
Detectives have already noticed 2 major insights here. The first is her confident claim that the deputy doesn't have to seek her permission to send an inmate to the extension, and the second is her being completely unaware of Wingo's passing out. Wingo was sent to the isolation pad for close observation.
Did you look in the cell door?
Yes.
Did you look in the window?
Yes.
But how could one expect the news of his fainting to reach the head nurse when the person assigned to observe was doing this? Rather than observing Wingo every 15 minutes, the deputy just scanned the code and left. After 6 hours, Wingo was found dead and unresponsive in this soundproof room.
One time he was standing straight up and he went flat straight back. Boom. And a nurse saw it.
Which nurse?
The one sitting at the front counter. And she looked up. And she
The
said,
tech saw it at the front counter. Tiana. And he fell right back. Nobody told me that. I promise you, nobody told me
he
that.
passed out a minimum of 6 times. When he went south.
How could he pass out and then just come through quickly? You know what I mean?
He fell out, and it wasn't a fake fall. And no one was watching.
Okay, nobody told me that.
And
Nobody told me that he fell. Nobody told me that.
He went to the bathroom multiple times.
Who?
The inmate.
Okay, you know, apparently he was complaining of a charge.
He had that in a ulcer.
I know, don't tell us that. I don't know. Okay, I only read that
Blood in
afterwards.
his vomit.
No.
That's what he came down for.
Oh.
Force out.
But you know what? He came down for that and then he changed his tune, remember? He came down and said he hasn't got that anymore. He said, now I've got, I think it ended up with discharge. But I don't know, and he never spoke to me about that at all. And nobody told me that he fell, straight back, fell out. No.
That's what he was doing when they were complaining about being in his boat. It's because he'd be standing there and all of a sudden he'd just be boom, gone.
No. No,
fall
you don't
out.
pass out like that. No, I don't believe
He
that.
did it.
It's on video, so
Oh.
he did.
Yeah,
He did.
Then he just passed out and came up.
It's very disturbing.
And he'd be out for a little bit time, and then he'd wake up and then he'd kind of wobble over to his phone. He was disoriented.
Does it show where he comes to the other guy's phone?
Mm-hmm. That's right. He falls in it a couple times. When he's getting into the funk, he's falling into it. He's not.
But listen, if you fall and you faint, when you come through, you can't just move off the bunk.
No, he would be disoriented for a minute, and it would take him a second, and then he would kind of crawl over to his bed. Just like you were saying, he was backing up some.
Yeah.
That was after he
Did
fell
you
out.
see him backing up? That's the only time that when I went there, saw him backing up. But I went over there because the gentleman was saying he's in my bunk. Okay? And when I told him to go back, he followed command and he went back to his bunk.
Right.
And then he came and he was between the 2 bunks.
And, literally what we're trying to find out is what was going on in there. And we know it was noticed that he was falling out. Can I say that he was faking it or not? To me, it looked real. And I've seen a lot of people fake it. The way he was walking around, hunched over, and just the way it looked like visible.
You know what? He was upset because he wanted to go to the ER. All along he wanted to go to the ER.
Okay.
Initially, Visser confessed that she had no knowledge about Wingo fainting 6 times in isolation. But when confronted by the detectives, her stereotypical belief remains the same, that every prisoner pretends to be sick to get drugs. Her belief remains unchanged, even after Wingo's death. Medical experts watched the video of Wingo crying in pain and fainting in the isolation pad, concluding that he was genuinely in need of emergency medical care. But will the detective's questions lead her to a confession, or will she pull out a new manipulation tactic?
Kind of turned out that he probably needed to.
Maybe, but
There's no
they
baby.
all want to go to the ER.
Yeah, but-
they really do.
I know, but this case, there was no baby about it. He needed probably.
Well, only because he's died. Otherwise,
Well, that's
you know what I mean?
positive reason.
Okay, and no, but
There's 5 of them that do it, but one of
Sure,
them. But
okay.
that's
I mean, you can't say
But that's
everyone
what,
to the ER because they want to go to the
and I
ER. You know what I mean?
understand that.
And when he
That's
came
what-
down, he changed his story. So
But that's what we're trying, that's why we're trying to get tidbits from everybody, because everybody's seen different stuff. And
Okay.
everybody's talking, that's why we're talking to you to see if someone's talked to you about it.
okay,
Obviously, you're a charge nurse, so you're in charge, so we got to see
sure.
if people did talk to you about it.
No.
You know,
Nobody told me that he fell, number one, or that he's vomiting, or that he's passed out, or that he's complaining.
That's,
No.
I'm not for sure if he was vomiting while he was down there, but that was the reason he was coming to there, and for an ulcer and for.
Okay, he came down originally, apparently, because he wanted to go to the ER. And you know, when they come off opiates, they want more opiates, so they say I need to go to the ER to get more drugs. Could be, I'm just saying, could
No, I
be, you know,
agree.
that he maybe wants more drugs,
I mean,
and,
I've been there when it's happened.
you know, so we can't, I mean, if there's a reason to send him, we would have sent him if he's vomiting blood, or he's pouring blood,
Would
we'll
you
send
send
him
him?
to
Would
the
you
ER.
send him for a bleeding ulcer?
If he's bleeding, sure.
If there was an ulcer,
If there was
Yeah.
blood and
Yeah,
he's
he was.
vomiting red blood,
Yes.
sure, we would send him.
so how about if that was happening in Fort South and he got sent down for that?
Well, then the officer would tell us. And you know what we say is,
Well,
if he is
a
vomiting,
nurse is the one that sent him down for it because she was there. The pill nurse, I believe. Was it?
Yeah, the pill nurse, yeah, she sent him down.
what, for vomiting?
And his complaint was of ulcers.
Of ulcers. Okay, so that's new to me. But usually, okay, what happens if they say on the pod they're vomiting? We usually say, give them a red bag so we can see the vomit. Okay, that's all I want to do. I don't mind, you can come down. Let me see the vomit. And when I see the vomit, I call the doctor and say, listen, he's got vomit, blah, 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 blah. And the doctor will say, send him out or start an IV. We're good at that.
But that's what, and that's, this situation is before you came.
Before I came on duty, sure.
So that's something that we're trying to look into too, see what the circumstances are with you being a charge nurse. So, did they, and I'm not super, was there blood in the vomit? Is that what was said for coming down, or was he saying that it was?
Just complained of ulcers when he came down. The blood and vomit was several days before that he was complaining about. And
While in custody?
Yeah, while in custody. Yeah, because he was given a shot by the doctor.
Okay,
For
that's
his
a few
nausea.
days.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a
right.
few days.
And that's when he was in Bury South.
Okay, he was given Finnegan. I remember he was
he
given.
was.
I think somebody told me they gave him Finnegan.
Yeah, so he's been thrown up for a few days.
I don't know about a few days. I mean, if we had Finnegan, if you vomit once, we'll give you Finnegan.
Right.
You know, we don't.
A shot of it?
Sure.
I don't
It's
know.
nothing.
I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, I know my wife took it when she was pregnant.
Sure. Yeah. Finnegan, good stuff. But so when he came down, he changed his story. Apparently, that's just what I was told. I didn't read the chart.
So, when you came on duty, did you have, besides walking up to him and telling him to back up,
Mhm.
did you have any contact with him that
No,
day?
no.
No
No,
contact with
but
him?
I did hear a noise in room 8. You know, I did hear a noise in room 8.
But
And I think Marshall, maybe she did 1 or 2 rounds, I don't know, I can't remember. And I went
so
up there,
you only heard a noise.
I heard all the loudness, you know, cursing and get this guy out, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know what I mean? And when I went over there, as I say, he was between the 2 bunks and he was lying and was cussing. Tell him to move away because he stinks.
And
Do you not interview the inmates? You don't interview them?
Yeah.
Right.
Another of her attempts to outsmart the detective falls short here because when interviewed, inmates close to Wingo believed that he was truly in pain, seeking help, but no one bothered about him.
Yeah, everybody's been interviewed, so
Okay.
that's where we're kind of at this point.
So, how long were you there before you got moved?
On duty an hour.
Okay,
So you got moved just before 7.
So you were on duty for an hour,
Yeah.
and then when you came on duty,
Mm-hmm.
your pass on from
Nice.
the night charge nurse,
Yes.
or is that charge nurse do the pass on to each other?
Yes.
Okay, so
We do the charge, we go check the drugs, and then she passes.
where do you check drugs?
We check the drugs in the lab room.
Okay, make sure that they were
That all the drugs are right.
right,
It's not
so that
that you didn't use something in the night and didn't write it up.
Okay, so
So
so when you come on, you you talk to the nighttime charge nurse and tell me what she told you again about it.
So she told me that the guy in 8, Mr. Wingo, she was going to put him in toe socks because he's been disruptive in the cell. And I said, oh, and she said, he wants to go to the ER. I think he's drug seeking. He's opiate detox. He's IV and he snorts. And he snorts. She said, I was going to put him in toe socks. And I said, okay, I will see how he is, and if he needs to go, I'll do it.
From that point, before when you did that thing, from that point back, did you have any knowledge of this inmate at all?
No.
Okay, so you didn't know, you had no dealings with any of his prior stuff at the jail?
No.
And then when do you guys start looking into each inmate's profile as the day? So, because he would have been a new one.
He would have been a new one.
So
Yeah.
would that have been something to where the profile would have been started for is another, so since you're the charge nurse, is there other nurses that are involved? Would there have been a nurse involved with him for that prior hour you were there?
No, I don't think so, no. I mean, there's 2 nurses. The one does, she goes and does insulin as soon as we come on at 6 o'clock. She goes and does insulin, which leaves one other nurse, which was Shay. Shay was pulling meds. She was pulling meds, so she pulls meds between, I would say, 6, 7, maybe 7:15, 7:15. She pulls meds, okay, puts them on the cart, gets them ready. What I normally do is, I usually start going through the chart. So when the doctor comes, I can hand over to the doctor. I go through each one to see that but he's already on his detox. He was already a few days on his detox, I think. And then, so he was still on his detox as far as I know.
And what time of the day would he, since he just came down, would he have seen the doctor? Because the doctors come in at what time?
At about 9:30 on a Sunday.
So would he have seen a doctor that day?
He would have seen, no, we would have seen him first. We would have seen him when we did his vitals. So what happens is that about, as soon as she's pulled the meds and the second nurse comes back, we all, where my desk is, we do the vitals straight there. We give them a medication, do their vitals, any dressings that need to be done, any blood sugars that need to be checked, we do it right there.
So,
and where the officers sit, so it's right on that little corner.
So
right
he didn't make it to the med time for where you did.
He didn't make it to the vitals, which will be maybe 7:30, 7:30, 7:45 we do it.
So
because he was moved at 7 o'clock, they moved him to the extension.
So at a normal time, when you get in, you get your pass on, and then you guys would start preparing your stuff about 7:38 or 8 or so when the car's loaded for medical.
I would say 7:30. 7:30.
So at 7:30, you would
then
start.
Jennifer will bring her cart and we'll start doing everything. We start from one room and go right
And
through.
you go all the way through.
All the way through.
And so at that time, he did not have any of his vitals.
No.
Wingo lost his life due to a perforated ulcer, but in Visser's mind, he was merely a drug-seeking inmate. Her attitude during the whole interrogation is appalling. But what will she do when the detectives give her a reality check?
No.
And then, I've heard from prior when I wasn't here for it, but and you said that he was rowdy. Was he in your mind rowdier than for not to take vitals before he went down there, or would that have been, say you guys leaving, if someone's leaving your thing to go to a pad, is it a normal thing to take vitals?
No, because normally they move them when they're disruptive. Do you understand? They're arguing and he wants to go to the ER and down one. So don't take vitals.
So that's not a
that's not a standard.
How about if it's a compliant patient before they leave and they move somewhere else? Is their vitals taken?
If they're moving him, I mean, he's a medical patient. Why would they be moving him to the annex or the extension?
I don't
understand. They wouldn't move him because he's a medical patient.
I know, but I'm saying that on a normal stance, a person that's moving out of the infirmary, is that part of the process that they determined would be vitals before they left?
No. If they're close-ups and they're cleared by mental health, they go straight to the pod. We don't do their vitals. If they're cleared, because they want to kill themselves.
Right.
So when they're cleared, they go straight.
So how about a medical patient? I
A
mean,
medical patient, well, we do all the vitals. We do it once in the morning and once at night.
how about if they're moving, if they
No.
get cleared?
Well, if they get cleared, so the doctor comes, goes around, clears them, the vitals have already been done in the morning. Unless they've got high blood pressure or there's some reason why we have to recheck it, then we do, no problem. Or blood sugar, we recheck it.
I'm learning from this too, that's why
Sure.
there's so many questions.
Sure.
I'm trying to figure it out. So in my mind, are you saying when, I'm not doubting that he was
Okay.
saying words and stuff, but in my mind, are you thinking and being a little bit more precautionary of saying that he was rowdy because of the nurse statement prior saying he was disorderly?
No, I think I heard him.
Right.
I heard him being
Well,
disruptive.
I mean,
Yes.
being disruptive as in as being loud talking.
No, as in cursing.
Right. No, that's what I mean by
Okay,
loud talking.
cursing.
Was he fighting like?
No.
Was he?
He wasn't fighting at all.
When he sat down.
No, he wasn't fighting at all.
And so, what I'm trying to get at is, would the vitals been taken either way, if he was compliant?
His vitals would have been done when it was
No.
his turn.
Yes, I understand that part, if he stayed in there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that because what I'm looking at is, would his vitals been taken if he was leaving out of there?
To go to the annex.
Yes.
No. They would only move him to the annex or to close hold.
If she had checked Wingo's vitals and if the medical staff had started the treatment earlier, he could have survived his untimely death.
But
Just-
that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out if it's a
Standard.
normal
Oh, yeah.
thing that happens when anybody leaves, our vitals taken,
No.
or if it's you guys take your vitals are taken at morning time and
In
evening
evening
time,
time,
correct?
yeah. Unless the doctor says he's got high blood pressure, recheck it, do it
Then
again.
you would check it.
Yeah. But if he's moving because he's disruptive and he's loud and he wants to go to the ER, no. In fact, we're scared to go near them because you never know, they'll attack you or hit you, you know what I mean?
I understand.
Oh, I don't go near them.
But that's that's why I keep, because I'm trying to make sure I understand that if they leave out of there at any circumstance, you're saying their vitals wouldn't be taken necessarily. It's only you taking at 7:30 in the morning and
Yeah.
probably 7:30 at night. I would
Sure.
assume it's
7 or 8 hundred time they do it. As soon as it settles down and it can be, remember, they're going to be done when it's compliant with Marshall. Do you understand? With the deputy. But she's got other stuff going on. And if mental health is out, she can only bring out so many officers. So we wait until she says, I say to her, can we do the vitals? Can we start? And she'll tell me when everything's calm, okay, I can bring 2 or 3 people out. Because she just brings 2 at a time. You know what I mean?
I got it now, because I got kind of where I was trying to figure out where we were at on. And tell me the stuff on going into the pad. Are they supposed to be checked when they go into the pad?
You know what? If they, okay, but normally, no. Because they're weepy, they're agitated, some of them are aggressive, some, I don't touch them. I really don't. Unless they're calm and they say, listen, okay, otherwise, no.
No, but
And most of them refuse. They say, I don't want to talk, I don't want to answer your questions, just leave me alone. And I put there, will not answer questions, won't answer. Because I've got to admit them. So everybody who goes into the pad, I've got to admit them.
So,
Do you understand?
So would you say the only time that you would check on an inmate that went into a pad or something is if they're put in a chair, or if they're
Or if they released.
or
They're
being
released.
released from the
Otherwise, the office, unless they fight, if they get into a fight, or they start bleeding, or they vomit, or they jump from the top, or whatever, then we would go in.
So-
Otherwise,
So when he went into the pad from leaving from your guys's and
To that
went
extension.
into the pad and nothing was going on different, it's unnormal that it would be unnormal if he did get checked for vitals or checked on him because he's not in a chair.
no, he won't be checked. If he's taken from room 8 to that extension, he won't be checked. No, that is not the normal, because they're moving him because he's disruptive, you know?
So the reason his vitals weren't taken is because he was disrupted.
Sure. He wanted to go to the ER.
And
Well, that goes against what I was asking, because it wasn't because he was disruptive.
They moved him because he was disruptive.
No, they
And the
moved
guy,
him. listen, I'm not trying to trick you.
Okay.
His vitals weren't taken
Mm-hmm.
because he was disruptive at
Yes,
the time.
yes.
They were?
They were not taken because he was
No,
disruptive.
well, that's kind of contradicting what we already
Okay.
think about. Because you were putting me under the understanding that vitals are taken at 7:30 in the morning.
Yes.
7:30 at
Yes, yes.
So vitals weren't taken because he was disruptive. It's
Well,
'cause he
vitals
wasn't-
weren't taken on him that day because we hadn't started doing it, number one.
That's where.
Okay, we hadn't started doing it.
That's where I don't know if you're
Okay.
confused.
Okay.
Because vitals weren't taken because he was disruptive. Vitals are taken because 7:30 is when it happens, he was taken out, because the vitals are taken when the nurse does his meds and they come out
Yes,
and check.
yes, and everybody gets their vitals
And you
done.
guys do not check people's vitals when they are leaving the infirmary to go
To the extension, no.
And then his vitals were not checked at the extension because that is not a normal thing for when they're putting them in there for that case.
Yes, no.
Okay, see, you
Okay.
were going for,
The other
you
way
were on the
around.
disruptive part, and
Okay.
you've already told me that, so I want to clarify it to make sure.
Okay.
But that is, what we just said is the correct way.
Sure.
I'm not sure if
I'm
that's,
sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Her statements are glaring red flags, constantly changing at every turn. To delve deeper into her character, the detectives now pose a particularly revealing question, which will offer a glimpse into her dark and detached reason of her crime.
because that was one of our things that we're looking at was were there supposed to be vitals taken, were there not? And
You know,
apparently there would have been vitals taken if he would have been in the dorm at that time, at the time of you guys doing it.
Well, he would have, if he stayed there, he would have had it done at 7:30.
Her statement reveals a significant inconsistency, one that directly contradicts the CCTV footage. At 7:30, Wingo had still not been sent to the isolation pad, and there was no one present to check his vitals. Even 15 minutes past the scheduled vital check, Wingo remained unattended, adding yet another layer to Visser's lying spree.
He would have had his vitals done like everybody else at 7:30. We could fill up their picture, give them their meds, and if they need blood sugars or wound care or anything, we do it all one time together.
And tell me symptoms and habits and stuff of a detoxing opiate guy person.
Okay, opiate guy. They're agitated, they are drug seeking, okay? And they remind me of a cat in a cage. I think that's the best way to describe it, that they just wish that they could get out. They're agitated, they're aggressive, they're drug seeking, they want the drugs. I mean, sometimes their blood pressure elevated, they can have sweating, and they curse and they fight and they want what they want.
Okay. And so when you were given the charge nurse thing,
Mm-hmm.
were you told at all about an ulcer?
No.
This guy.
Mm-mm.
And, but what did they tell you? She was telling you about this guy
Oh,
because it
she
seems like
said-
this guy stood out.
Okay, all she said,
Did this guy stand out on her pass on?
it did, because she said to me she was going to close-ups him, but she didn't. She said, I was going to put him in close-ups because the whole night he's been cursing, saying he wants to go to the ER. And she said, his IV, his opiate detox, IV, snorts heroin, snorts cocaine. I said, oh, and she said, all he wants to do is go to the ER. And she said, I think he's drug seeking. She said, I was going to put him in close-up, but I didn't. And I said, okay, I will look at him, and if he needs to, I'll put him in close-ups. I have no problem with it.
But when you say that, is that your decision? Is that a charge nurse decision to put him in close up?
Sure, if he's disruptive in the cell and he's going to cause trouble, move him out. Sure,
Okay.
sure.
What do you have to do to do the close up? Do you have to get?
You have to fill out a form as to why you're putting him in close-up, and you explain disruptive, fighting, causing trouble, moving.
In the beginning of this interrogation, she claimed that she had no say in where Wingo was placed, but here she missed another responsibility, filling out the form.
Their mental health season.
Did someone fill out a form for him to go to the pad?
No.
Why? What's the difference between?
You know what? I did not fill it out. No, we didn't fill out form for him to go to the pad.
But is there?
Marshals should have, or I should have, I suppose, but I didn't.
Okay, so there should have been a
There
form.
should have been a form that he was disruptive to go.
And that's what would have been taken to the pad
Sure.
for that.
Yeah.
And is this something that you would, not that the deputy have to talk with watch commander about this?
No. You don't have to tell the watchman, no. Anybody can put them, if they're non-compliant or they're fighting or they're disruptive, put them in close-ups. And their mental health sees them. And usually they refer him to Dr. Hindash, give him on some medication, give him some Visser or whatever, Benadryl to calm him down. So did they tell Marshall that he fell? I want to know who said he fell. Why did they tell me he fell?
You know, think about when you're at your computer.
And the noise is
Memory.
going on.
Yeah.
And the noise is going on. I don't remember anybody tell me he fell. No. Or that he was bleeding, or that he was vomiting, or anything like that.
She's been denying any knowledge about Wingo's failing health and obvious signs of distress, but at this moment, her tone shifts to cold and insensitive as she describes Wingo's behavior, attempting to paint him in a negative light. But she doesn't know that the detectives have facts backed by evidence to refute her lies.
Yeah, not necessarily the bleeding and vomiting, but did your the short, him not being able to breathe and having trouble breathing. So,
He was loud. If you're loud, you have a problem breathing. You know what I mean? If you're loud and you're disruptive, how can you? I want to go to the ER. You know what I mean? I can't remember what I said, but it was loud. That's why we moved him, because he was loud and disruptive. That was when we moved him. It's got a bug.
yeah, we've watched the video, so
Does it look bad? I'd love to see it. Does it show that he falls back really?
Oh yeah, several times. Yeah.
Several times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
And it shows him getting into the bunk, right? Into the guy's bunk. It shows him moving back to the
Yeah,
bunk.
because he can't stand up because he's so weak, and that's why he crawled back to his bed.
No. Okay. Listen, he got up and walked to Marshall.
Right.
He got up and he walked to Marshall. He walked out of the door.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
I
he
said
stood
we've
in his
seen all
head.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he lays on the ground.
Oh, he lay on the ground because he didn't want to get up. He lay on the ground. Is that after he was cuffed or before he was cuffed? He didn't want to get up. And that's right. And Gordon said, come on. I heard Gordon say, come on, get up. Get up. You can move. And he got up. And then Gordon took him and he sat on the chair and he was still loud. I don't know what he was saying there. I don't know what he was saying, but he was still loud. And then Gordon
Loud
okay,
than like screaming.
I want to go to the ER and you people don't
So he was like screaming.
Yeah, he was shouting, yeah, I want to go to the ER and I don't know what else he was saying. And then Major Harris came and they took him. Listen, I had a guy once who came from the annex. Sergeant Brandon was with me. Listen, he sat in the chair. He was laughing. He came, I don't know if you heard about him. He laughed coming to the infirmary. He sat in the chair.
Sad.
Very sad.
Very sad.
I'd love to know where he died from.
I was, and you talked to Major Harris. You talked to Major Harris that one? I don't know. I've watched so much video. So.
Did I speak? No. I don't think I spoke to him at all. He spoke to Gordon and they took him out.
So far, she has found people to blame for her carelessness, but what the detective is about to ask next will leave her struggling to respond.
Why did you not write a form up for him to go to Pat?
I don't know. I didn't write him a form.
Is that,
Because he could have, let me see, they put him there. He would have come back to us once he settled down
I know, but
and he was calmer.
but going to the pad, there's supposed to be a form
There's supposed to be as to why he came to the pad.
So why wasn't that done?
I didn't do it.
Is that whose responsibility is that?
I suppose it falls on me or Marshall. Why he went to the annex disruptive.
And then still trying to get something. Why did, when the guy's being disruptive and stuff, would that not cause you to read his chart to find out what's going on?
No, at the time, I think you just handle the situation at the time as to what they're going to do with him.
Well, that's, and what I'm getting at is, because he's disruptive, what I see is he's disruptive and he's acting out. Sort from the video, from me looking at it, I mean, he looked like he was actual pain. Faking or not, stuff.
Okay.
But would that be something for medically, like besides, I know, did you already have your mindset that he was detoxing?
I knew he was detoxing, yes.
And because they said that, did that just pass that on from
That stuff?
Well,
yeah.
from another medical emergency? In your mind, already thinking that he's just detoxing? Did that change your mind as of being a true medical emergency? Because that's what looks like is happening.
I don't know how to answer that.
I mean,
Because, he's detoxing, he's on detox meds.
but
Him acting out.
he had because where I'm getting at is if, I know we have cry wolf. It happens a lot.
What's credible? What's that mean?
Well, like, he wants to go to emergency.
Sure.
So, and it happens.
Sure.
But we assume that that's what was wrong, and in actuality, that's not what was wrong with him. And so I'm just trying to figure out if you would have looked at the charge or the sheet, and it came up that he had prior, he was throwing up constantly. He was given Phenergan. He was complaining of an ulcer. And would that be something that would look into where, okay, is he crying wolf, or do we need to send him out because he's acting up? I would act up if I was locked in a room.
I would also act up. I would, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So I would say I was warned, maybe. Okay, he's acting out, so I sort of expected him to act out. You know what I mean?
When he was standing up, he was hunched over, walking around. I never saw that.
I never saw that.
Yeah, he was hunched
I never
over.
saw that.
And
But he got up to walk to Marshall when Marshall told him to come out. Okay, he came out the door. Gordon told him to put his hands on the window, which he did, and then he went down. He didn't want to get up, and Gordon told him to get up.
Did he fall down? Or
No, I don't know. I don't know if he fell down. I can't say that because I just heard Gordon telling him to get up.
was Gordon touching him when he fell down or when he went down?
I don't know. I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
All right.
I didn't see that.
Okay.
Despite being faced with undeniable evidence about how her cold attitude and uncaring nature led, Visser does not budge. She stuck with her lies until the very end.
You never thought that, hey, maybe I should go over here and see if anything's wrong with him?
No.
Why do you say he wasn't having a medical issue right then?
Because I think he was acting out. All along he was acting out, wanting to go to the hospital. And they'll do anything to go. And he would do anything to go. Even if it means picking him off the floor.
Did he look like he was okay medically at that time?
You know, when they act out, they do act like that. They pretend to be dead.
A fair trial would have been where she would be charged for a death that occurred under her supervision, but unfortunately, she got away with her crimes. After going through her case, the board decided on just 1 year of probation. This was the only punishment that Visser was ever going to face for her inhumanity.
She don't know because she never checked, but she don't know because she never did what she was supposed to do.
How difficult is it to hear her say these things?
Difficult because if they would have just did their job. They would have just did their job, we wouldn't be here.
This decision devastated Wingo's family. As a father and a husband, his loss was deeply felt by those who loved him. His family criticized Visser for ignoring his pleas. It was heartbreaking for his children to face that their father was kept from basic human rights, to be checked on time. Even though he was a convict, he deserved fair treatment. This case highlights the importance of compassion and care, especially for those in vulnerable conditions. Kevil Wingo showed obvious signs of pain, yet Annalene Visser didn't bother checking his vitals. Even after his death, she showed no remorse. Shouldn't medical training in high-pressure environments emphasize empathy as much as technical skills? Did the justice system do enough for Wingo? Inmates may be disruptive, but does that justify ignoring a man's suffering? Do you think the punishment decided upon by the court is enough, or does Visser deserve more? Let us know what you think about this case. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. For more impactful stories like this, be sure to subscribe to our channel.